This time on the Home Strategist, most people research a home the same way they buy a TV. Price, square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, done. But the things that actually make you miserable in a house are almost never on the realtor listing. I've lived those mistakes in real life. Today we'll examine some important things to check for before you ever fall in love with a house. I'm Dr. C, and you're watching the Home Strategist. This episode's not about homebuyer paranoia or over-researching. It's about avoiding irreversible and unnecessary friction. As we've discussed on this channel, a house can look perfect on paper and still be a bad place to live. Because my wife and I have owned so many homes in the past 25 years, I've experienced most, if not all, of the issues I'll discuss today. The key here is that strategy beats optimism every time. Because owning a home can be difficult enough without a bunch of additional drama. In 2026, who would ever imagine that things like electricity, internet, cell service, and water would still be issues in some areas? With utilities, the points to consider are who actually provides the service and what's their overall reputation. For example, internet providers have notoriously bad reputations, but some are definitely worse than others. So look at, are they reliable or are they constantly failing? How fast is response time when something does go wrong? Availability does not always equal quality. You want to look at how many options there are. And this is very important for people who work from home. Take it from me, this is not something you can easily fix after the fact. Unreliable utilities, especially electricity, can not only impact your quality of life, but it can also impact your resale value. With water, let's break this into three buckets, no pun intended. First, there's municipal water, which is typically by far the most dependable. Private water companies aren't all bad either. Most of them are pretty good, and they're very popular in certain parts of the country. But you want to do your research. Your soon-to-be neighbors are probably only too happy to complain about the water company, but you want to follow up on those complaints and see what the real problems are. Then there's private and shared wells. With private wells, hardware and water quality are your two biggest concerns. With shared wells, governance matters more than hardware. Who maintains it? Who pays when it fails? And how does that process work? Property history is a big one, and it's one that I spend a lot of time examining. For example, days on the market is not the real story. Scroll down to the property history on the listing. See if the property has ever been relisted. This is a trick to keep the days on market number low. Delist and relist games happen all the time in real estate. One of the things you can find out here is whether there's been multiple failed contracts, and this can be a huge red flag that's worth asking about. Make sure to ask those questions. Look at the realtor's social media. Often when a realtor receives an offer on a property, they'll make a big splashy post about it that it's under contract because it's good marketing for them. But if that house didn't end up closing, ask why. It might be the buyer, but it also might be the home. There's public data, and then there's the actual story. Another big one for me is neighborhood and community information, and this can often be discovered from social media. Look for Facebook groups or community forums. And some of these groups are private, but they're actually pretty easy to gain access to if you just provide the address of the home that you're looking at. Are these posts that you see on these pages helpful? Are they social? Or is there nonstop complaining and drama? Do people appear to be helpful and neighborly, or are they all up in each other's business? Highly social neighborhoods are great if you want that, but this can be miserable if you don't. So this isn't about judgment, it's about the right fit. A neighbor vibe that's right for others may not be right for you. And that leads us to neighbors. Look, a difficult neighbor can ruin your ownership experience. So we're not talking about stalkerish behavior here, just some thoughtful research. Look at more of that publicly available information. Look for patterns. Chronic conflict personalities exist. I mean, as the old saying goes, there's one in every crowd. But sometimes this can be discovered on community social media sites. Is there always that neighbor that's posting or giving their 2 cents or complaining all the time? This is about risk management. It's not about gossip. Unless you're in the middle of nowhere, you're not buying a house in a vacuum, so personalities matter. HOAs are becoming more popular in areas where they were once rare or non-existent. It's really important to look into the HOA rules and what their enforcement style is. Dig into the financial health of the HOA, and this might require some additional research because it's not always easy to find. You want to know if the HOA is able to collect their fees, collect their fines, and has the money to be able to take care of the community. Response time and complaint handling is important. Relationship with the homeowners. Is there a good relationship or a very adversarial relationship? Some HOAs do a really good job of protecting value, while others seem like they do nothing but create misery. And by the way, lower is not necessarily better when it comes to HOA fees. Sometimes you get what you pay for. Price per square foot is a home strategist key. Asking price and comps are what people typically look at when they're buying a home. I want to see, what am I paying per square foot relative to nearby homes? This can help you craft a competitive offer that's easy to justify. And it's also important because it identifies overpaying, it highlights layout inefficiencies, and it exposes emotional pricing of properties. But just make sure to consider the lot size, because this can play a big role in property value and it's not reflected in the price per square foot. Demographic information for home buyers is about life stage alignment and daily rhythm compatibility. Young families versus retirees. 55 plus communities exist for a reason, and it's not just about a bunch of old get off my lawn people. Being 10 to 15 years off from your neighbors can feel very isolating. Now let's get into some home systems. Septics can be a real critical piece to look at. You want to check out the age of the system, when it was last inspected or pumped. You want to look at replacement timeline and the cost realities of that. And because it's environmental, there is rarely any grandfathering rules when it comes to a septic. It's you bought it, you deal with it. Septic systems are great and they work great until they don't. Then there's the water systems inside the home. If you walk into a home and you see a water softener present, great, no problem. But if there isn't a water softener, you want to check and see if there's a loop for that water softener system. And if not, that can be a huge expense. What about reverse osmosis systems for drinking water? Is there ability to install that, and is there the ability to connect that to your fridge? Retrofit costs for this can also get expensive. Now stay tuned for a full episode on major home systems like these later. Check out nearby infrastructure and zoning changes. This is one of those sleeper things that a lot of people don't consider. Are there new schools being built? Are there freeways going in? Commercial development? Is there been a major zoning change just a few blocks away? And this isn't all bad. It's not all a negative. These can either raise value or destroy your quiet enjoyment. The point is to think beyond the lot lines. Go take a drive through the neighborhood. Pay attention to property upkeep, street congestion, parking chaos, and just the general pride of ownership. You learn a lot more in a slow drive than a fast showing. I walk at least 4 miles a day with my dog. So walkability for me is a big deal. So if you like to walk or bike, take a look at the sidewalks, how good a condition they're in, the redundancy of the walking paths and streets. If you're like me, I don't like walking the same exact path every single day. I like a little bit of variety. So pay attention to that. Look at lighting. Look at just actual usability, not just the marketing claims of the realtor or the community. Now go back at night, park your car, and go for a walk. Listen. Are there barking dogs? Is there a lot of traffic noise? Just think about the overall atmosphere. Right now, I've got a neighbor down the road that has someone living behind him that loves to party hardy on Friday nights. They crank up their tunes, they go out on the patio, they cook out, and they make a lot of noise. This is a good thing to be aware of. Neighborhoods have different personalities after dark. Finally, check out grocery stores, pharmacies, places to work out like gyms, YMCAs, rec centers. Look at parks. Look at healthcare facilities like clinics and urgent cares and hospitals. And then look at the simple things like coffee, hardware, and basic retail. Distance matters a lot more when conditions are bad or there's an emergency or you just need to pick something up quick. Most people research houses like commodities. Homes and neighborhoods are systems. The stuff that you forget to research is the stuff that you have to live with every day. A smart home purchase isn't about falling in love, it's about avoiding regret. And if this video saved you from one bad decision, it did its job. Thanks for checking out The Home Strategist. If you appreciated this content, give us a like, drop us a comment, and please subscribe to the channel.